Hello, my lovely people. Happy Saturday. Hope everybody's doing good. It's cold and windy and stormy in many parts of the world, and we're going to touch on a whole bunch of cool things happening right now. First of all, today's story will be about Bitcoin's evolution, what's happening. We'll talk about roadmaps. We'll talk about 2024 market forecasts, look at some omens, good and bad, analyze some data, because it's a big story today. Bitcoin versus Tron, GBTC's Grayscale's game changer. And you'll see an interesting thing. It might be a little edgy there too. Money flow, a little bit about the spot ETF, a little clarification from yesterday's video. And what else? Well, happy Saturday. Crypto market cap 1.7 trillion, just shy, I think. Volume a little bit low by 53 billion. Bitcoin 44,000 on the nose, hanging tough. ETH about 2,200. And what else is going on? Oh, crypto fear and greed 70. And that's the story. But before we jump in, I just have to highlight something as well. And I've been complaining to YouTube for years. They have these videos. If you search BTC news, Bitcoin news on YouTube, you're going to see these videos. And then sometimes the people behind these videos pay for scam ads. There's nothing I can do about it, but I want to just talk about this for a second. You'll see these things. You'll have Michael Saylor. You'll have Coinbase scam videos. You'll have Solana, totally scam videos. They're just all over the place. And in addition, I will never reach out one-on-one. I will never be your friend. I don't have time. I can't scale. I work around the clock. I definitely don't have time to do one-on-one conversations with people. If anybody reaches out to you pretending to be anyone, it's a scam, everybody. It's a scam. Be careful. Scammers are at all-time highs. Now, the other thing I do want to highlight as well, I put together a little image, so hopefully people will understand. Would you hand over a bag of cash to a stranger on the street who you don't know, who promises to give you 2 bags of cash back? Like literally, it's very Darwinian how people get tricked. And they get tricked because they're blinded by greed. There's no such thing as a free lunch or 2xing your crypto in minutes, okay? And you'd be surprised at people that actually fall for this. You'd be absolutely stunned. And that the only explanation for this is people blinded by greed. In addition, one other scam warning. Community member lost $250,000 yesterday. And I've warned people since the beginning of time, don't click on anything. Lock down your security. Only keep small amounts on hot wallets, etc. They lost $250,000 on a hot wallet by clicking on an NFT that was delivered. So remember, do not click on anything that pops into your wallet. Do not hold large amounts of money on your hot wallet. Spread it around. And don't click on anything, okay? Have to say that because people are still making mistakes. And it's staggering as to why. Don't get too excited about crypto. It's not free money. You have to analyze and you have to work for it, okay? It's nothing like anything else. Remember this guy on the street? Would you hand over $250,000 to a stranger in the street? Well, people do. Anyway, sorry about that. I had to get that out of the way. And YouTube don't listen to me. I tell them time and time again. But maybe it's a free world. Maybe it's Darwinism at its best. I don't know. Anyway, back to the news, and this is investment advice. Don't forget to subscribe, and thank you for the likes and support. So yesterday I did a video which has a brand new ratio that you've never seen in the history of the world, and it caused a lot of confusion. And I went through it very fast yesterday, but I was exhausted yesterday. I was extremely low energy, so apologies for that. I was traveling, and I was just wrecked. Anyway, this is the model. I'll walk through again. Now, what I did was, with the team, we created a new ratio. It's called Max TPS over time to finality. I believe speed is important. Not just speed, but also finality is very important. So wouldn't it be cool if you had a ratio of dividing your theoretical max TPS divided by time to finality and you get a total score? Now what this highlights, okay, and again, sorry about the confusion yesterday, but this highlights that in the realm of layer 1 blockchains, I think it is crucial for their survival to be fast and have fast finality. And there is also a correlation between age, speed, and transactions per second and finality. You can look at days since launch here in the middle of this chart, how old some of these chains are, and how the newer ones are much faster. Are the old ones going to survive? No, they're not, unless they are going to change. It's that simple. And I understand technology. I understand this. So if you're down here with a chain that's say 1,000 days old or more, and it doesn't have finality and it doesn't have speed, Yeah, and I know the Cardano people, but we could pack a lot of transactions into every transaction. I get that. But you also have to look at adoption and other factors too. And value transfer and DEX volume and NFT volume and all those other 69 things that we look at, okay? I understand that. Don't tell me stuff I understand. A visual of this as well is be in the stuff with the big red bar. The other stuff is probably not going to make it unless, as I said yesterday, they can change the wings on the aircraft in the air. And sorry to bring such grief tidings, but I'm not here to sugarcoat anything for anybody. But if you are really low on this score, I don't see you making the next 3 to 5 years as a chain. That's it, unless there's a radical change. And again, technology can change stuff really fast, but you got to get rid of the tech debt, which I covered yesterday. So I just want to make sure people are clear on that. I color-coded it. You want stuff to be green, maybe yellow. But if you're in the red, there is the problem. Anyway, back to business. Let's look at Bitcoin. So far, year to date, this is January, up 3.6%. Not too much, but this is what I call the calm before the storm. And by the way, sorry for starting off in such a negative footing of scammers and everything else, but that stuff, when people lose $250,000 by clicking on an NFT, it breaks my heart. It absolutely breaks my heart. So please, everybody, be careful. If you're not trusting in yourself, don't use things like hot wallets and never click on anything and never talk to anybody. So I just have to hammer that home. Thank you all for everybody in the chat here. Okay. And again, this is just data, numbers, data. That's all I do. No emotions, except for when people lose $250,000. Then I get really, really sad. Anywho, that's Bitcoin monthly returns. Let's actually look at the history of January, how it looks. On average, January isn't a bad month overall. We had two nasty ones back in 2015 and 2018. Apart from that, not too bad. So I think it's going to be a very good January. Let me explain why. But first, the last week in Bitcoin terms, everything's red with a couple of very small exceptions, including Wrapped Bitcoin beat Bitcoin. That's weird. Stacks, TIA, Say, all up on a lot of the stuff, but everything else got smashed. So if you are in altcoins and you didn't make any money last week, don't feel bad. Nobody did. But that's also a good time to kind of shop. Let's look at Bitcoin and the rest of the assets in dollar terms. Bitcoin up 4.53%. ETH down 2%, Sol down 10%, Avalanche down, I can't read that, 11, 17, 13, 12, Cardano, XRP, etc. down. Everything is down across the board. Don't worry, because this is what happens. The attention goes to the one that's in the news all the time, and that's Bitcoin, and that's where the money flows. But regarding Bitcoin, some interesting news as well. And this is from Rover. Just posted. We're going to get the first ever weekly gold cross. Now, we know gold crosses work 65 to 70% of the time on the daily time frame. We've never had a weekly. So I think the weekly time frame is far too long to measure anything effectively. But we are getting one for Bitcoin. And imagine the weekly gold cross, as I said, I think back in December when I first covered this, it was going to hit right about the same time that maybe 95% chance that the Bitcoin spot ETF is approved. And then forget all the crap you're hearing out there about, oh, it's going to be a sell the news event. It can't be because of money. And that's what we're going to talk about now. Let's talk about Bitcoin block fullness. All right, this is from Dune and Always Data. And despite the historical bear market, the Bitcoin network began this year in its longest modern drought of block space demand. This is crazy. This is a huge driver of fees and explains the huge surges in fees we saw in 2023. And now we are facing even more demand. This is why I became ultra bullish on miners, because they make a ton of money from fees. And now the institutions are coming. It's going to go crazy. We are so early in this bull market, and we're already out of block space. Can you imagine what's going to happen next? And of course, we know inscriptions, ordinals are all part of that, but that's big. In addition, another view of fees, and we know I covered yesterday how much fees Tron makes compared to many other players, but this is cumulative fees in 2023 and look at Bitcoin, it completely smoked Tron. And historically, Tron smokes Bitcoin. And that shows you how much money Bitcoin is making right now. In addition, another indicator of how the spot ETF is coming, ladies and gentlemen. By the way, I'm putting myself back on the picture. I had a lot of requests. They would like to see my face and read my expressions rather than having me as a small box. But let me know. I don't care. I prefer not looking at myself, to be honest. But this is the GBTC discount. It hit 5.75% per our models. This is the lowest I have ever seen in years and years and years. And could this mean that mass approvals are imminent? Probably, yes, because the people behind this know how to arb it, and they are arbing it right now. And as GBTC converges with its net asset value of 0, traders price a higher probability that it's converted into a spot ETF, especially given the SEC wants to do an all-at-once approval of all pending applicants. The narrow 5-point-something% discount tells us we are just potentially days away. Exciting. We've been waiting for a long time too, but it is still exciting, at least as far as I'm concerned. Now, speaking of Grayscale, I made a video about this years ago. I think some of the Grayscale funds are absolutely stupid. Well, they just added XRP, and the XRP army will go mad to their GDLC, the Grayscale Digital Large Cap Fund. I mean, there's so many better names to add than. What are you gonna do? It's Grayscale. That's why I be careful of funds. That's why I don't buy ETFs, mutual funds. I did dabble in the ETH Grayscale fund because it's at 55% discount. But that's it. I'm out of that now. Now, back to money. There are now 8 Bitcoin ads on television. And this is from Crypto Slate. And you can watch them all if you want. And I just thought the imagery of this, obviously AI generated. The whole family around the fireplace and the TV watching Bitcoin ads. Again, Bitcoin's never had a marketing department. This time is extremely different, extremely interesting. And we're all along for the ride, and it's wonderful. In addition, more money flow stuff. Spot Bitcoin ETFs and ETPs globally for now. You can see their biggest one is about 2.7 billion up in Canada, about $1 billion in Germany, about $1 billion in Jersey, Switzerland, $500 million. Liechtenstein, 284 million, etc. Brazil, 100 million. Guernsey, to see all the British offshore places. Tax-free, baby. And Australia, 19 million. The Australians, see, they know how to buy direct. They don't need ETFs and ETPs. So shout out to any Australians and Kiwis down there. But what I want to point out here is, look how little is in these things. People say, well, spot ETFs already exist. What difference is another one or another 12 going to make? The answer is this. The money flow. All right. This is from the rational root. And the green shows you the money inflow into Bitcoin. And the red is the outflow. Look at where the money flow was historically compared to today. We haven't even begun to move, and the price of Bitcoin is already gone crazy. What is going to happen when the money flow goes crazy? This is going to melt faces, and I don't give guarantees about anything, but I can pretty much 99% assure you this will be bonkers. In addition, this just came out. Reuters are even talking about the Bitcoin spot ETF, saying Reuters are completely convinced they could win approval next week after all the last-minute application updates were made. So Reuters sometimes gets things wrong, but sometimes they get things right, and they're well tuned in to the financial markets. That's interesting. Now, I did mention here the amount. Let's call it 3 billion between friends here across all of these guys. 3-4 billion. Not too much. The reason I care about this is look at the size and the impact of just one potential spot ETF. Now, I don't know if this is a rumor or not, but from both Eric Balchunas and Tim Copeland, believe BlackRock have $2 billion of capital lined up, okay, ready to go. And that $2 billion doesn't mean they're existing Bitcoin holders, but it doesn't mean they're going to move their existing Bitcoin into BlackRock. They're going to move additional funds. Again, it sounds a bit weird, but that gives you an idea of the size. And I've calculated the 30 trillion in assets under management across the 12 players, maybe more, 37, depending how you count it. Even if they allocate 0.17%, things will go bonkers. And now they could be adding 2 billion in a week, which will be half of all the other ETP AUMs around the world today in a week. That's why it's really big. And that's why we should all be excited. In addition, this turned out to be a pretty long Saturday, so thank you all for bearing with me. Tickers are fun. These are all the pending tickers that are already out there listed. So if you look at Burr from Valkyrie, which is kind of fun, I like HODL from Van Eck, ARKB, that's from ARK and 21 Shares, BTCW for Wisdom, Bitco from Invesco Galaxy, Invesco, everything does everything with a co, Pando Asset, Fidelity, FBTC, I kind of like that one too, and DeFi from Hashdex. I don't get that one. Anyway, moving along. And there's also the BlackRock. I forget the BlackRock one. I think it's IBTC IBTC from iShares. Anyway, switch gears off of Bitcoin. Let's talk about the L1, L2 action this week. And here, just a quick summary. This is interesting. Year-to-date winner is still Solana. TVL winner for the week is Bitcoin, up 4%. Daily fees winner is Arbitrum, up 15%. Weekly active devs is Cosmos, up 10%. Daily active users, Cosmos, up 90%. And daily transactions, Cosmos, up 81%. So Cosmos is on fire all of a sudden. But remember, it's coming from a low base. And these things can happen very fast. So shout out to Cosmos. The Atom is the ticker for that. Speaking of money flows as well, that's all we are interested in here, it seems. There's the chain flow of the last 30 days from ETH to Sol and back to ETH. You can see here the exact amount moving from ETH to Sol versus Sol to ETH is 96% more. The drainage is nearly double over the last 30 days, and this is the first time I've actually noticed that. That is big drainage. So the whole ETH to Sol thing is not slowing down by no stretch. In addition, let's talk about stock market here, because last year I covered the importance of the first 5 days in the stock market, and a lot of people have been pinging me saying, hey, well, it's looking bad this year. Does that mean this year is going to be catastrophe? Well, let's dig into the math about that too. Remember, historic trends can sometimes rhyme and sometimes repeat, but not always. So let's look at the first 4 days of trading we've had in the stock market so far. Everything's kind of down with the exception of some of the pharmas, some of the big banks, some of the energy, but tech got hit hard. And tech had a pretty crummy December. Great year, but a bad December and a bad first 4 days. Remember, we have 1 day left, and that could be an interesting day on Monday. That could change things around, but things have to move up pretty big percentages. You know, Microsoft is down 2% for the week, Google 2%, Apple nearly 6%, Amazon 4%, Tesla 4%. So has to be a really strong green day, and I don't know if we have the catalyst for that on Monday. But let's dig into the first 5 day theory that you were all asking about. So first of all, this is a history of the S&P 500 over time versus the first 5 days. And basically, obviously the first 5 days down in red seems like, not that many. So if you look at this chart here, it goes back to 1950. You got all the first 5 days versus blue, which is the S&P return for the year. And typically, if the first 5 days are strong, the S&P is strong. But let's dig into more data, because it's a little more complex than that. This is 73 years of data plotted here. And what I did was put together the average trend line. Obviously, the January return if it goes high, the stock market goes high, but the stock market is normally up. Now, what I did was here just to point out, of all those 73 years of data, if the first 5 days were positive, only 6 days were negative. That means you can pretty much, with a high degree of accuracy, say if the first 5 days are positive, you're going to be good. Okay? Very small odds that the year will be bad. But let's do the negatives. If the first 5 days are negative, how many are negative for the year? Only 10. So it's not that big a difference. And finally, in summary, if the 5 day return is less than 0, only 10 times in 73 years does the stock market return negative, or 14% of the time, which is not that much. And the average return is only 6%. So don't sweat it too much. If the first 5 days are bad, it doesn't mean the year is bad. And let me explain the real macro reason as to why I believe the stock market will be up this year. and up pretty well. First of all, presidential election. Historically, stock market performs really well during election years as political parties and candidates introduce policies that increase money flow, etc., impact the economy and businesses. Also, interest rate cuts are coming. We could have our first one in March, which will be big, and that will propel risk assets. Also, we're looking at money flow coming in. There'll be higher levels of liquidity driven by factors such as more government stimulus, lower interest rates, increased consumer spending, and that could also spur a little bit of economic growth, which is good too. And we have this AI revolution at our fingertips. Rapid advancements in technology can drive growth in many sectors of the economy. We're seeing now law firms use AI in a big way, apart from everybody else too. And it could be a nervous time for certain software competitors to be in place. If you're not profitable, you don't have a big moat, it might be difficult in the coming future if somebody can use AI to spin up the same code base to go after what you're doing. So the market will be good. In addition, speaking of a stock that I believe will be the best performer of the Magnificent Seven stocks is Tesla. Because this is from Alex Voigt, who basically said, he put together a beautiful list. I added a few items to his list, like semi-truck, etc., car insurance, but he talked about products and services in the past that everybody said Elon would never, ever deliver. And he's delivered everything, including things that don't get a lot of attention. Thank you, KN, like global supercharger network, etc. Car insurance, the semi-truck. Daimler-Benz said the semi-truck would never be possible. Bill Gates said the semi-truck, which is the big 18-wheel thing, or the thing that carries 18-wheelers. I don't know what they call them in Europe, but I think they're called semis here. Articulated lorries, I think what they're called. But nobody said that would be possible. Bill Gates, Daimler. Anyway, then his roadmap of things that are coming, products and services that everybody says, they're never going to be able to do that. Remember, don't bet against Elon. It's a good way to go broke. Compact car, the Model 2, as I call it, is coming. FSD is coming. I just drove over 600 miles of the FSD this week. Flawless, almost. Robotaxi, coming. Humanoid robot Optimus. We've seen the progress in just a year. Mind-blowing. Lithium refining. And there's more. Elon said there's more, not me. Elon responded to this post and said a few other products coming too. I think it could be heat pumps and who knows what else. It could be quite remarkable. So again, Tesla, I don't know if it's going to be 2024. It's going to be the year of crypto, but could it be the year of Tesla too? I don't know. But 2025 for sure. And again, it was a very disappointing year for many in Tesla in 2023 because it only went up 130%. But I know it's crazy, but it did fall a lot before in 2022. So anyway, let's look at one other thing too that came out, the jobs report. I made a post on Patreon about this, about how fake all the data is. I've made videos on this in the past, but what is very concerning is the amount of multiple job holders. These are people with 2 or 3 jobs, is now at all-time high in the United States of 8.565 million people, and the US job market lost 1.5 million people. But people don't do 2 or 3 jobs for fun. They do it to put food on the table, and that is very alarming too. Very scary. In addition, final piece of news, be careful if you are flying anywhere. Try not to get on one of those Boeing. I think they actually grounded them all. But the Boeing MAX, 737 MAX, the whole side of the door just blew off an Alaskan Airlines plane yesterday. Fortunately, nobody was hurt, but it could have been disastrous if they were much higher. Anyway, keep flat there. As I say, keep your seatbelts on, literally. Don't click on anything. Don't trust anybody. And thank you all for coming. Thank you to everybody on Patreon. Have a good Saturday, and I'll see you all tomorrow for the live Q&A, where I cover all the top questions from the community for the week. And we have some really interesting ones too. So thank you. That'll be the first one of 2024 as well. And I'm going to go and start working on that right away. So hit the likes if you like the content, if you learned something new. And thank you to the mods in the chat. And hello, Beardy Day. And thank you, KN and Investing KO and everybody else. I'll see you all tomorrow. Bye-bye.